is an initial test of the Motorola T80 at 3 meters from the receiver. This is a test of the Retevis RT649P at 3 meters from the other radio.
You'll notice there that in the first part of the recording, when I just do a test at sort of 3 meters away, I was in a different room at that point, but the radios are fairly close together. And the 649 has a kind of, almost like an interference, a clicking underneath. I don't know what causes that. So I would welcome anyone with sort of any ideas on what that could possibly be caused by. To put it down in the comments. My only possible ideas is one, overloading the front end, so RF front, a bit too much sort of RF hitting this radio, but it's only half a watt, so I wouldn't have thought that would be a problem. And the other thing I can possibly think of is just general interference from something nearby, but I intentionally power down everything in the room except the radios to make sure haven't got any kind of devices interfering with stuff. And possibly the fact that it's sat next to this other radio could be causing a problem as well. But that said, this doesn't have an issue. Equally, in any other test I've done where I've heard the same thing on other radios, the Motorola hasn't had an issue. So, what does that tell you? I don't know.
This is the Motorola T80 at 50. The Motorola T80 at 50. Retevis RT649 at 50. The RT649 at 50. This is the Motorola T80 at 100. Motorola T80 at 100 meters. Retevis RT649 at 100. Should do. This is the Motorola T80 at 150. Motorola T80 at 150 meters. Motorola T80 at 200, Motorola T80 at 200, just turn around to point towards, just so my body isn't in the way, the T80 at 200. That should be okay. This is the Motorola T80 at 250, T80 at 250, just next to Foxtrot, and turning 180, T80 at 250.
So there we go, the range test of the Retevis RT649P or the RT49P if you're in the US. This is the PMR446 version, so this is outputting 0.5 of a watt, which is exactly the same as the other radio that I was testing against here, which is the T80. Now, some people have said to me that really the 649P is actually more comparable directly, particularly waterproof rating and like the lights that come on when you drop it in water and all that sort of stuff, to the Motorola T82. I don't own a T82, so I can't really comment on that or can't kind of compare it directly to that. But because it's so similar to the T80, I thought I would do the range test with that. It's my standard range test. It's not anything long distance. It is kind of real world use. So the radios are ground floor at a height of about 1.5 meters, so body height, and they're right in a window, so they have that benefit. They're not stuck in the middle of a room, but they are indoors, and it's in a built-up area, so they really are going to struggle. You're going to struggle with half a watt, and it gives a real-life test of a PMR446 radio. And really, what do you think? I was actually surprised at how well the T80 performed. I thought that sounded great. The RT649? Well, I hope my testing is fair, because it really didn't come across very well at all. The audio level, and I must make it clear at this point that I am comparing from this to another RT649 and from this to another T80. So it's not as if the T80 is being received by the other 649. They are being received like for like, you know. So that is exactly how you would receive on the other device, on the other equivalent device. Not very good. I don't know how else to put it, really, because I want to think that I'm doing a fair test here, because I've had a couple of Retevis radios now that really haven't performed too well in this test. And I can't be any fairer than having two radios that have just as good an opportunity to perform well, and they're covering exactly the same distance. I don't really know how else to put it other than saying, sorry, Retevis, this 649 did not perform well in that range test. Other than that, I really like the form factor of the radio. I like the size. It feels really robust. I like the fact that it's fully waterproof. There's loads of good stuff to like about this radio. Range and actual performance, like audio quality wise, doesn't seem to be that good, which, considering it's a radio, that should be the main thing you're worried about. And the other things I personally don't like are the volume control. I don't like volume controls being digital in that way. To change the volume, you have to like sort of press buttons and then press the push to talk button and things like that. I prefer a volume control on the top, but I mentioned that in my first unboxing video. And the other thing I would certainly recommend is that you replace the batteries. I've charged these batteries and charged them up to full and left them for a couple of weeks, and they'd already sort of discharged a little bit. And equally, I recharged them to full today before the range test, and one out of the 6, because there's obviously 3 in each, just sat at 93% and then suddenly got extremely hot, which could have been a charger issue. Not too sure, but either way, I would replace the batteries in these with something a little bit more reliable and possibly better capacity than the Grepow 1200 or something milliamp hour batteries. Replace them with some Amazon Basics or some Eneloop Pros or something like that. Bit of extra expense on top of the cost of the radio, but I think it would be worth it because you get so much more life out of them. So there we are, the range test of the 649. Let me know in the comments what you think. I hope you think, again, just to stress, that these range tests are fair. But yeah, the 649 versus the Motorola T80. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon.